Okay, so PlayerPrefs. This is a kind of a redo of the video. The previous one had some sound issues. And I'll hit play. I'll have to adjust the volume. It's the ambient last one. I didn't realize the ambient sound was so high. So PlayerPrefs are typically used for this type of saving and loading. It can be used for game stuff, and I will show you that in a second. Okay, so let's bring up our stats here. So you can adjust these, and this one might be hard to see in this little scene. It is working. Just know that. Yeah, just take my word on it. I suppose. I mean, you can kind of see it here on this texture here. Like, it's not very good, but if I do that, it's pretty clear. Quality level, you can adjust the quality level here. That one, as you see, it takes a little longer to do though. That one's not a fast thing. VSync count, that kind of works with, if you run a frame rate, you more or less can't run a, like, you have to. All right, and this should now, oh, that might override it. I'll have to double check that. But anyways, the VSync count is either none or, which would give you 60 frames per second, 2 would give you 30, 3 would give you 20, 4 would give you 15 based on the refresh of your monitor. Anti-Aliasing, turn that on. You can change resolution. This one won't show here. Apparently it works in the build. I haven't actually tested that, but the action is telling the system to change it, but apparently it's a build only thing. And global volume, loud, not so loud, and quiet. All right, so target frame rate, you can adjust your frame rate. Great for all sorts of different things. The LOD bias, now I set this guy up where he's got two skins and they're in the LOD, so his helmet is actually on LOD 1. So if I bring this down, you can't see either of them. You can only see that, right? So I'm adjusting the range, that multiplier for the LOD, which is in your project settings. And if you look at him, I mean, he has the LOD based on the camera distance, and that's really all it is helmet and his body, and over here is just his body and then called out, and then shadow distance as well. And I'm on fastest, so we're not getting any shadows, but if I go up to something like beautiful, we'll see some shadows. And that kind of depends on how you set all of these things up, right? You can set up your different ones, right? So 4 cascades and stuff. So we have full shadow distance, and I can bring this down, and it's changing because of the cascade effect. It's not being hit as many shadows. See, this one has no shadow. He has a shadow because the range is really short now, and no shadows. So there is a whole whack of options. Oh, and then one of the other things I have, I'll show you this real quick too. We have a little text here saying current level. And this is actually a trigger, and this player, not much of a player, but if he touches the trigger, we gain a level, right? So we're currently level 6 apparently. And if I take him, let's come out of 2D, and we just move him over, we gain a level. All right, you can get as many levels as you want. It's just a counter. And if I leave the game and come back in, right, and so like I could fully close Unity and everything, it wouldn't matter. It saves it because I'm using the PlayerPrefs to save the level, and that's what we're seeing here. So now he's level 15 on play. So the way that works, game logic wise, I just have, we're getting, at the start, we're getting a key called level. I'm gonna set that into data and I send it off. And if I gain a level, I take the level variable, I add one, I set it into the PlayerPrefs right away. I set it and send it off. And the receiver of that is this guy that just receives this event, pulls the data out of it, and builds the string on it and sets the UI text. So at start, when we start the game, it builds it and sends it here, and when you get a level, it builds it and sends it here in the same spot. And that's just to show you that you can use PlayerPrefs to save whatever information you want. But typically, generally speaking, we use it for quality settings and stuff, and that's excuse me, PlayerPrefs isn't encoded or encrypted in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of just raw data. So PlayerPrefs are really easy to hack, I guess you could say. So here, at the very start of the game, I load all these different keys, the keys for the anti-aliasing, keys for the LOD, key for quality level. I load all these from the PlayerPrefs. There's a couple float ones, so I have to load the float ones. There's a string one, so I load the string one. Now, resolution's one of those tricky ones, because you have to make sure you have it here, right? So you have to add it. So I've only added the 3, so I say, okay, default resolution. I just had to say, okay, well, do we actually have? Because if it's the first time playing it, there's nothing, it's going to show nothing, right? Which is fine for these ones, but it's not good for the string. So if it's null, we're just going to give it a default value. We come over here and we set all those levels using these custom actions, which will be on the GitHub. I'll put the link in the description, and we just set all the levels. And then we come over here and we check that we do a string switch based on this guy, or if there's an actual value, and we use set screen resolution, which is a normal Unity action. And then I set the drop down value to match it, so at least it looks good. And then I come down here and I update all the UI, saying, hey, let's use all the values we just grabbed and set all these up proper so it doesn't look weird. And we just come over, we look over for the apply button. Once we're at the apply button, if it gets hit again, now we go to these, we grab all the values, we store them into the proper spots, right? We grab the slider value from the global volume, store it into global volume, grab the frame rate, store it into the frame rate. There's a couple conversions, insta floats. That's why you see that little bit of a float to int. And then we save all of those into the PlayerPrefs right away before even doing anything. And then we just come back and we set them all to the actual game. We say, hey, okay, this is what we have, everything's saved, we've gotten all the values, we saved the values, let's apply them to the actual game. Then we're going to update the UI just because it's following that same pattern. It doesn't actually have to do this, but it's an easy way to do the code. We come back and wait for the apply button again. You know, very, very simple. But you'll notice like everything's kind of this default value now. And when I hit play, right off the bat, it sets all these up to where it's saved to. As soon as we can actually see it, right? So this is where we left it last time I hit apply. Everything's there. Like if I take this and swap those, take these like that and hit apply, come out of play mode, you know, this is the default from the editor. We go into play mode, and like I said, right off the bat, the first thing it does, it goes into the PlayerPrefs, it grabs all those values, sets all the variables up, updates all the UI with those variables. And now we're in play mode, you can see it's literally exactly how we left it. So that's kind of how we use PlayerPrefs and the quality settings and stuff like that. Like I said, custom actions, those are all custom actions. They're all on GitHub for you in a package. So there you go, and we'll talk to you in the future.